Alright everyone, so this is a new video. Pretty much what I'm going to be doing is ranking all the starter deck leaders. As of right now, we only have all the way up to 13 if I'm not mistaken, which is the three brothers, which I have in here. I had to make this by myself because there wasn't really a tier list. I couldn't find one on tier list maker for just the starter deck leaders. It was pretty much every other set besides just the starter decks by themselves. So I had to like find all the images just to get them into this tier list maker. So let's just get right into it. These are just my opinions on it, so this tier list isn't anything to take seriously, okay? I just thought it's time to finally rank them on what they are worth. So I guess we should start off with the first one, right? Of course it's going to be Luffy. Now I'm just going to put him here and talk about him. He's not actually B tier. I mean, come to think of it, for a mono red leader, right? He's not bad, especially since he was the first one that we got for mono red, especially as a starter deck. His ability is you can attach Arrested Dawn, so it's not bad. It's once per turn, but red is really aggressive, and the deck that he came with kind of works with it, because the only really it kind of, when I mean kind of, it's because the only cards that really work well with that leader ability is his 3-drop Zoro, and I think the Sanji's in there too, where if you attach a certain amount it gains rush, so it's okay. It could also, that one Arrested Dawn could also be put onto the Jinbei that comes with it. So it's not bad. The really good cards that are in it are actually just the starter deck Zoro and the what's it called, the Onami, the Don Nami, the 1-drop Don Nami. So it's not bad. I wouldn't really say it's A tier because you don't really see a lot of people running the red Luffy. So it's okay. A lot of the cards in the Luffy deck can be ran in the Zoro deck, so that's something I know. A lot of the cards in this deck can also be ran in Law, but that was back when the game first got released, so it's an okay. I guess it could be B tier. I wouldn't say it's top of B tier though, but the next one would be Kid, and Kid is just straight up S tier when it comes to starter decks, because even though we have all the way up to 13 already, like we have the three brothers, and those are way better abilities, right? For just a mono green starter deck leader that is green and really aggressive is just really good. You only have to pay 3, and you have to discard a card just to swing again with the leader. And with the deck that it came with isn't that bad at all, because it's all supernova stuff, right? You get the Jewelry Bonnie that people use a lot. You get the Restand Law. You also get the X Drake that boosts all your supernovas if you have a Dawn attached to it. So it's not bad. Just by having a Dawn on your Drake brings your leader up to 6k, and if you swing again, that's 2 6k swings. So it's not bad. Everything in his deck is really good and useful in a lot of other decks. So and especially the 7-drop blocker kid that comes with it. It's no 8-drop kid, right? But it's a 7-drop blocker kid that you get to swing, and if you have a Dawn attached to it, I think you set it back to active at the end of your turn. But if you have the Restand Law, or no, the Restand Law only works with 5 or less, I'm pretty sure. So pretty much what I'm getting at is that Law's deck is really good, or Kid's deck is really good, because all the cards that came with it, not to mention the leader just being a really aggressive leader, and all you have to do is discard 1 card and pay 3. It's not bad, and especially with all the new stuff that's coming out for Supernovas, I feel like Kid will just be even more of a threat now. So yeah, look out for the bans when they get him. I mean, people are already banning him in special events, so I'm not surprised. Next up is Crocodile. I'm going to put Crocodile in A. I think Crocodile deserves an A tier because he's just a really good blue starter deck leader, although I am with the majority where like he should have his ability swapped with the purple blue Croc that comes out in set 1, because mono blue Croc is you -4, you get to return a 5 or less to your opponent's hand on their board, which just makes more sense on blue purple Croc because you're minusing Dawn with purple. But it's interesting, right? It's a good removal thing that you could use, like say with even though this is just the decks that came with it. An example would be like, oh, you could red rock something big and then use his ability to red rock something, or to return something that's mid range. So it's a pretty good ability for a mono blue starter deck leader. But for the cards that came with it, the only really good stuff we get is like the 2k Mihawk and the Mellow Beam, which is the 2-drop event counter that gives you, I think, plus 4k, and you get to draw depending how many cards you have in hand. However, though, the cards that come with it is pretty, I wouldn't say lackluster. It's better than the stuff we get for Luffy, that's for sure. Like we get a lot of good 4-drops. We get a lot of good 2Ks, which is the Mihawks again. And he has a very situational event card. I think it's what is it called? It's not Scalpel. What is it? It's his own. It's his own return card. It's a 7-drop, I think, or a 5-drop event. So it's an okay event card. It just costs a lot to return. I think a 7 or less. Back to the opponent's hand. Not to mention, this is also the deck you get the 7-drop Doflamingo in, which is not a bad mid-range big body card to have. It's a 7-drop card, and you get to return a 7 or less back to your opponent's hand. So it's not a bad card. Like, he has a lot of good okay cards for blue, especially when it came out. So that's why I feel like he deserves an A tier, higher than Luffy. So yeah, again, it's really hard to rank red because red is mostly known for just brainless swinging. Like, you just summon a lot and swing for no consequences. So that's just how I view it. Again, that's just my opinions on it. So yeah, as of right now, we have an S, an A, and a B. I just think Green Kid is just S tier, and not to mention once we get to Uta, she will also be S tier, but I will explain. We have Kaido. See, the thing about Kaido is that he's getting up in the results now because of all the new purple stuff that came out, but if you just rank him just by the deck he has and the deck he came with and the leader ability, I'd say he's way better. In my opinion, he's better than Luffy if you compare him, like if we were to rank them with the cards that are coming out now, which I guess we can. The cards that come with purple now just make Kaido a better leader now. He's like one of the best purple leaders now, because of all the ramping you do, especially with that 3-drop Black Maria that's coming out. So I feel like Kaido has the potential to be S or like A tier. I just feel like he's missing out on stuff that could make him top tier, because as if you realize, like, the only good thing he has going for him is the 9-drop Kaido or the 10-drop Kaido, because like not even his 6-drop King is good, not even his 7-drop King is good. The only thing that's good in his deck is the 9-drop Kaido and the blocker Queens, and that's about it. And then Borrow Breath, right? Blast Breath, the 1-drop 4K event. So it's not, he doesn't have bad cards. It's just that the only really good thing going for him is his 9-drop Big Body, his 10-drop Big Body, and that 5-drop blocker Queen. So, and not to mention with that Big Mom and Kaido coming out soon, like, he can go up in the Black Maria. He will be able to go up. So like, I would say he's like bottom of A. I guess we could put him in bottom of A or top of B. He alters between back and forth, but until he gets more cards to where he can be S tier, I feel like he's either bottom of A or top of B. So we'll just say top of B. Finally, we are at Shanks, which is the final like starter deck we got, because this is starter deck 5 until we go into the new colors. So starter deck 5, he's really bad. Shanks is really bad. He's like, you can say he's kind of better now because of all the film stuff we've gotten, like the Guild Tesoros and the what's it called, the what is that purple card for film that lets you I can't remember all the film cards. I'm sorry, I don't like purple as much, so I can't remember all the film cards. But he's just really bad, right? There's no point in playing him, and you might as well just play like red purple Uda at that point instead. The only really good thing going for Shanks in his deck is the 4-drop blocker Uta that lets you minus a Dawn and you rest a 5 or less. And then if you really want, I guess you could say the Douglas Bullet, the 8-drop Douglas Bullet is okay. You have to like minus Dawn for that ability though, and it gets double attack, you get to rest something. So it's an okay big body. It's just very expensive. Again, the only really good thing going for this deck is the 4-drop blocker Utas, and if you really want the event card that makes your film cards immune to stuff. So it's nothing crazy, right? If anything, if it didn't have the blocker Utas in it, this would just be straight D tier, but because of those Utas, it makes it at least bottom of C tier. We're on to the newest of colors. We're on to black. Now black, when it first got introduced, we got a starter deck with Sakazuki, and this is the Sakazuki that we got before Broken Sakazuki, or not broken, busted Sakazuki, and then that one's getting banned next month. So this is the Sakazuki we got with OPO2 when that got announced. And pretty much what this guy does is if you pay 3, you discard 1 card, you get to KO, I think, a 5 or less if I'm not mistaken. And for black, when it came out, right, that's really good because black is really known for KOing cards on the board pretty easily now. But back in the day, you had to lose stuff for that. Like, we actually had to sacrifice things in order to KO something. So it was kind of balanced when black got introduced. Like, we didn't just get to KO something for free. We had to lose something for it, because that's how you balance something. You can't just get rid of stuff with no consequences. So in my opinion, Sakazuki was fun to play until I got Smoker. But when it comes to the deck itself, it was okay, because the best thing about the deck was the shockwaves, and I guess you could say the 5-drop smokers that you get with it, because if you have a 0 cost or less on your opponent's board, the smoker gets double attack if you have a Dawn on it. So it's okay. Pretty much the only thing good about it was the shockwaves. It was a good trigger card that you could get, and it was a good 2-drop event that KO'd something and gave you counter. So when it comes to the deck itself, right, I'd say it's like C tier, like top of C in my opinion, because it didn't really have a lot going for it besides like all the minusing costs. You only had a certain amount of KO cards for the minus cost. Like, I think if I remember correctly, we didn't get the 6-drop Sakazuki, and we got it in the actual set for the 6-drop Sakazuki. So what was the KO cards? The KO card was actually Kobe, and Kobe you had to make your opponent's card 0 or less. So it was, I think that was the only KO card. Oh no, we had Garp in it. Garp was the KO card. But the thing about that is that Garp was a card you had to rest, which means you lost out on a swing in order to KO something. So even though that's black's whole thing, right, when it came out at the time, you had to really balance between whether you want to be aggressive and attacking or get rid of board, unlike nowadays where you just get to straight up KO something, get board, and swing at the same time. When this deck came out, you had to like prioritize what you want to get done first and then do what you want next turn. So like, it wasn't really that good. Just also, not to mention, you had to pay 3 Dawn and discard something in order to KO with leader ability, and then most of the KO cards, like, you had to discard something in order to KO, and then Garp you had to rest. Smoker, to even the 5-drop Smoker, to even get his ability off, you had to bring something down to 0, which the only thing you had minus in cost was the Helmeppos, and funny enough, that Sengoku that came with it, that was like a 5-drop, you minus 4 when you swang, which was a terrible card. But it was better than Film Shanks, right? It's better than Film Shanks in my opinion. The reason why this is C is because you have Smoker now, you have like Gecko Moria, like we have all these better black leaders now that are pretty much better than it, even with the cards that came out and that are coming out. So like, he's top of C, I'd say. Next is Big Mom. This is the Big Mom 7 set 7, or sorry, starter deck 7. I'd say she's very situational, right? I've only ever seen like a couple Big Moms on the simulator. I don't ever see one at my locals or like at locals in general. She has a very interesting ability. I think it's Dawn. I forgot how much it is, but it's like Dawn times whatever on the card. You get to place, I think you place a card on top of your life, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check. Yeah, so the Charlotte Lindland, you Dawn times 2. So you swing for 7. You add 1 card from your life, top or bottom, and then if you have 2 or less life cards, add 1 card from your hand to the top of your life cards. So it's a leader meant for life manipulation. Unlike Katakuri, you get to see your life. This one just straight up manipulates your life. So it's very situational in my opinion, this leader, because I don't really know if you're like, you don't really know if you're grabbing what you need, grabbing what you could have kept in your life because you want it to trigger. So it's really weird. Like, funny enough, I've never really played the Big Mom leader, right? Because I had Katakuri right out the bat. I just bought the deck so I would have everything for Katakuri. But just being able to life manip, and it costs 2 Dawn, you're swinging with 7, right? So it's kind of like Katakuri, you're swinging for 7. But instead of just seeing your life, you get to take 1, leave 1. If you have 2 or less life, it's very situational because of that 2 or less life, and you don't know if you're grabbing something that you want to keep on life. So it's really situational, but it is yellow. So just by you know, automatic ranking, that's good, because yellow's known for being annoyingly good for no reason, because life manip, life gain is so easy for yellow. That's why like the 3 brothers are just gonna go. The 3 brothers are pretty high tier, even though Luffy's the best one. Like, all 3 of them are pretty good. Because they're half yellow, like they get the easiest color in the game because you're life manipulating, and like this is the whole reason why Katakuri is like top 3, is because he's just yellow and he has a good ability with him. But when it comes to Big Mom and her ability just being mono yellow doesn't mean anything. So yeah, like the best thing that came out of her deck was of course the 7-drop Big Mom. The 4-drop Katakuri that gains Rush when you look at your life really only works for this Big Mom and maybe black and yellow Big Mom, but I'd say at best this is top of C, bottom of B. So I'd say it's top of C because the next one is actually pretty good. This is Luffy. This is a starter deck 8 Luffy that came with the 9-drop Shanks, right? That KOs all 1-drops. And when this deck got released, people were running black a lot to KO and counter a lot of red-green laws because just having stuff minusing cost on your opponent's board and then you play the 9-drop Shanks next turn to kill all of your opponent's board because they're law, right? They're the highest thing that laws are playing are like 5 drops, 6 drops at best. So if you have something that's able to minus everything on their opponent's board to bring them down to 1 or less, then you play the 9-drop Shanks from this starter deck, it KOs board easily. So it's not a bad card. I mean, it's way better than the one we got with Sakazuki. I feel like it's better in my opinion than the red Luffy, but not as good as Kaido. And the reason why I think he's not as good as Kaido is because Kaido's actually, again, Kaido's just a really good mono purple leader. He has a really good ability. His cards are somewhat better in my, like Kaido's deck is somewhat better than the Luffy deck in my opinion, just because you're really only going for the 9-drop Shanks. What else is in the black? I forgot the other SR that comes with the black Luffy. The black Luffy also comes with the Uta. That's right. So the Uta lets you rest the character, give it to one of your opponents -2. That's okay, right? Even though this card can't be KO'd by battle, we have a lot of things that can KO it because it's only leaders, right? This card can't be KO'd by leaders. That's an easy like 3-drop 5k character swing from your opponent to get rid of one of your main -2 costs. Like that's not good. That's not as good as you think it is, because they could just easily swing at it with another 2-drop of their own. And not to mention, like we got a lot of these basic vanillas. Nefertari Vivi was introduced in this deck, or not introduced, I should say, but Vivi got a card in this deck. Vivi got introduced in the red leader starter deck. So the Shirahoshi's situational as well. Gum Gum Bell also very situational because you have to add a card and you're black, right? You don't have any way of gaining those life back, but just by adding a card you get to -7, which really helps with the Shanks. But if you run this in Black Yellow Big Mom, the Gum Gum Bell, that works out pretty well because you're life manipulating, possibly life gaining. So like this 2-drop event could work well with Black Yellow Big Mom. The Gum Gum Pistol's not as good as you think it is, so it's like it's good because it's black, right? Plus the 9-drop Shanks is what pretty much makes it great. And that's why I feel like Kaido is a little bit better because the Kaido's 9-drop is just unbeat. Like Kaido's 9-drop is better than Shanks' 9-drop. I'm sorry, because 9-drop Shanks' ability is very situational. It's if you can only get them down to 1 or less. Kaido's 9-drop, oh man, you straight up just get Rush, whether you KO something or not. As long as you minus the Dawn, you straight up get a 9-drop big body Rush. That's just so good for Kaido. So it's good because it's better than Red Luffy, but not as good as Mono Purple Kaido in my opinion. But if you combine it with the stuff that we have right now, it gets somewhat better because the leader card lets you attach Dawn to the leader if you KO something, which is Black's whole thing, right? Black's whole thing is if you have enough minus cost down, you can KO something with a card you already have, which this leader card benefits off of if you can KO something. So it's not bad. It's not bad. It's better than Red Luffy. Next up is what's her name? Yamato. This is starter deck Yamato, starter deck 9. So this card, this deck was really good in my opinion because it came with a really good event card, which was, I don't even know how to pronounce it. It's Arrow, something Arrow, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, what's it called? It's called Narikaba Arrow. Yeah, so this is pretty much Thunderbolt, or not Thunderbolt. This is pretty much Ikoku Sovereignty, but cheaper, and it minuses attack power instead of boosting your character or leader by 5k. You get to minus attack power. It's very situational though. Even though you need to have 2 or less life cards to give something minus 3k, it has a very good trigger. Again, it's just Ikoku Sovereignty. But with yellow, and the deck it came with, this card works pretty well with this one, because this leader depends on if you have 2 or less life cards. So you pretty much swing with a you swing with a 6k, right? And then on your opponent's turn, if you have a Dawn attached to it, which you will because you swing as a 6k, this card will also be a 6k on your opponent's turn. Not to mention you have life manip, life gain, and all that nonsense. However, though, the cards that came with it aren't really that good. Like we have Omusubi, and then we have Shimotsuki right here, which unfortunately aren't as good as they should be. Not even the SRs in this deck are really that good. Like, nobody runs the Portgas Diaz, the 6-drop, or nobody even runs the Kozuki Odin 7-drop, because they're just way better cards that came out after it to run instead of those two. Pretty much the only good thing about this deck was Narikabara Arrow. Not to mention you had a nice Land of Wano 2K search you could play in green yellow Yamato when that finally came out. This is a nice easy 2K search you could find off of Momonosuke. These guys, I know, like Omusubi could be played off of Arlong ability, same with Tempura. These two could be played off of Arlong's ability. Just the deck in general wasn't that good besides Narikabara Arrow, and maybe Kozuki Odin if you were somehow able to keep him alive. He's mostly a bad card because of the ability on KO. You have to trash 2 cards to add a card. So like the only life gain you get from this deck is Kozuki Odin, and like not even their blocker does anything good. So like she's not as good. It's just the Narikabara Arrow. So when it comes to like the leader Yamato, I feel like she is C tier in my opinion. Like as the deck by itself, she's worse than Big Mom, but she's better than Sakazuki, right? Because with the Sakazuki starter deck, you're just KOing one thing at a time because of the stuff you were given with. When it comes with the stuff you were just given with, she is just a C tier, in my opinion, because these cards aren't exactly that good. Like even with Shimotsuki, you have to add a card just to play one Land of Wano character 4 or less, and you don't really have a lot of good options with Land of Wano, because the Kaido isn't Land of Wano, the ulti isn't Land of Wano. The only Land of Wanos you can play are Tempura, Omusubi, Shinobu, and Momonosuke. And then you can play the Monkey D. Luffy as well. But like the only cards you're playing off of Shimotsuki, not to mention you have to put a Dawn on him and take a card from your life. The only cards you can pretty much be playing is cards that have no abilities. And the only one that has an ability you can play is Shinobu, and you have to strike yourself on block in order for it to even be surviving in a strike and in an attack. So it's like it's very it's very bad, but just because of Narikabara Era and the leader itself, it's not that bad, because you want to be down on life, and you want to be down on life for the abilities of the events. It's just that everything else that came with it, not so good. Like the Kaido's not bad, right? The Kaido is it can't be KO'd in battle if I have 2 or less life cards, which benefits because your leader wants to have 2 or less life cards. Like the only good card is Narikabara Arrow, maybe Kaido. That's about it. So that's why she's like C tier in my opinion, below Big Mom. Next up is Law. So Law is straight up S tier for me, right? He's like top of S tier, and it's not because I'm biased and I like Law. Like I used to play the Law, right? Before like he was top 1. Before he was like the number 1 leader. Like I played him when he came out, and he was just fun to play. He had a lot of good things in his starter deck. I guess we can rank these guys in the same thing because they came out at the same time, because they all have the same cards. When it comes to the 3, I think Law's better. Luffy's probably top of A. When it comes to Kid, I feel like Kid has to be like at bottom of B. I'm sorry, Kid's like the worst one. When it comes to like out of the 3, Kid's like the worst one because he doesn't really have anything good going for him when it comes to the deck, right? Like the Kid I play, like almost every Kid, Red Purple Kid player has the 9-drop Kaido in it. So when it comes to like the 3, Kid's the worst, Law's the best, Luffy's in the middle. So their abilities aren't bad either. They're actually pretty interesting for their own abilities. Like Kid, you have to strike yourself in order to get or not strike yourself. You have to minus a Dawn, get 2k. But he's a 4k leader until you get below 4 life. Law's is you have to what is it? Law is you have to have an opponent's character at 3,000 power or less, and then if you minus, I think, 3 Dawn, you get to bottom deck that character and then also play a character. So it's shambles, right? It's shambles, but for your opponent, not just yourself, right? It's like red-green Law, but it affects your opponent, not just you. So yeah, you have to minus 3. If your opponent has a 3 or less power, bottom deck that after you minus 3, and then play a 4 or less. So yeah, he's pretty good. For red-purple, he has a lot of good removal too. Not to mention a lot of easy minus attack power for that ability. And then with all the cards that came out, he's just even better. When it comes to Monkey D. Luffy, though, he's in the middle because he works more with the purple side, right? If you have 0 Dawn, or if you have 8 or more Dawn, you get to add 1. So he's really only good at the very like end game because like he's summoning a bunch of big bodies because he's ramping a lot to the big bodies. Not to mention he's playing a lot. He has a lot of 2Ks. He's kind of like mono purple Luffy. He's playing a lot of 2Ks. He's playing a lot of the Animal Kingdom pirate stuff. So he's also playing the 10 drop Luffy, right? So you swing with 6K, play the 10 drop, or swing with all your characters, swing with the 6K, play the 10 drop Luffy, take another turn, and because you're at 0, before you take another turn, activate this looter ability because you'll be at 0 Dawn, because in order to activate Monkey D. Luffy, the 10 drop card, you have to minus 10 Dawn. So play the 10 drop Luffy, minus 10 Dawn, use this looter's ability, get that 1 Dawn, take your next turn, go up to 3, and then swing. Play whatever else you want. Play a 3-drop Zoro if you want. Get more aggression in there. So you have a 6K, 5K, and a 12K swing because you took another turn. So when it comes to the leaders, Law's better. Law's the best. Luffy's in the middle. Kid's the worst. Not to mention the starter deck that it came with the 4-drop blocker Law. The 10-drop rush Luffy wasn't that bad either. So. And then the Heart Pirate stuff wasn't that bad either, like the Beppo, the Gene Bart. Heat was okay too. He's a pretty good 3-drop card. You could play it too for purple. But when it comes to the leaders, Law, Luffy, then Kid at the bottom. Next up is Uta. So Uta is the starter deck 11, and I said earlier Uta is S tier. But bottom of S tier, right? Here's the why I think she's bottom of S tier, because she is easily defeated by black. Like, even though Sakazuki is like close to bottom of C tier for me, like I think Sakazuki can screw up Uta in a very easy way, because all Uta is known for is setting up, like easy, like Uta's easy setup, because, and the whole reason she's also S tier is because of the cards that came with her, right? She has a free search, which is New Genesis. She doesn't have to pay anything for the search. She automatically swings with 6K every time, gets a card off of the 6K swing every time. She has all the film cards she needs to build board, which is the Nami, the 7-drop Luffy, the Brook, everything to help fill board and gain hand size. She's just a really good leader, not to mention her events like I'm Invincible, New Genesis, I already said earlier, Backlight. Like all the cards in her deck is really good. And then if you want to consider all the stuff that came out after her that goes with it, like the Mihawk helps her full board. You have a lot of other green stuff that really help her with film. So like you could also play some, I can't remember their names, but she's good pretty much. She's just really good because of hand size, easy hand gain, easy board fill. The only thing that really screws her up is black. So like green black Perona can screw her up because you're resting all of her 4 or lesses, and then you also KO stuff with black. So like you're getting like 10-drop Kuzan is a good way to counter this leader, because not to mention on play with the 10-drop Kuzan you KO a 5 or less, or sorry, when you play the Kuzan you get to KO a 5 or less, and then for the next whole turn, for every turn after that, all their cards are -5, because most of the time Uta players don't have a card to get rid of the 10-drop Kuzan, so you just keep him on board. You don't swing with him to get rid of board, to help you get rid of board. So like Uta's really countered by green. Like she's very easily countered by green. That's why she's bottom of S tier. The only reason she's in S tier is because all the stuff she gets, all the stuff that could work with her that came out after, and then the easy board fill, the easy life, the easy hand gain, not to mention the easy aggression. So like it's better in my opinion. She would be better than Kid, right? Because I'm Invincible is pretty much Kid's ability. You don't have to discard a card for I'm Invincible though. But because of how easily countered she is against black, Like, Kid does better against black, in my opinion. Only because, even though they get rid of something on your board, Kid can swing twice. Right? Uta can also swing twice, but that's only if you have the I'm Invincible event card. The whole reason why Kid's better than her is because he has the I'm Invincible built in him. You need I'm Invincible to swing again with Uta. So, they can, like, with Kid, sure, they can KO something on your board as much as you want. I technically still have that swing because even though you KO'd that character, I get to swing twice with Kid. But with Uta, you only get to swing once. If you have I'm Invincible, you get to swing twice. But that's if you have the card, if you have the Dawn to spend to play that card, and if you even have a board to keep up with. So that's why I feel like Kid is better than Uta, in my opinion. Like, you always have a certified second swing with Kid. Potential second swing with Uta. Especially if you're going up against black. That KOs all your characters. So, yeah. Last one before the three brothers, we have Sanji Zoro. Now, I know Sanji and Zoro Sanji is getting, like, a lot of good results when it comes to them. Like they're like wrecking havoc right now, is from what I've heard. Like, they're just very aggressive. They're very good aggression. But the stuff that came out with it, though, pretty lackluster in my opinion. The only good thing about it was the Mihawk that helps you play something for free. But their ability is actually pretty crazy, in my opinion, because the first blue-green we got was, what's his called? His name was Rosinante. Yeah, that's his name. The first blue-green we got was Sanji, but at the time he was released, he wasn't that good, right? But now Sanji, blue-green Sanji's getting some results, and then after that we got Rosinante, which was more defensive. But the first, like, actual aggressive green blue we got was Zoro and Sanji. Then Sanji, blue-green Sanji started getting more aggressive because of all the stuff that's coming out. But, like, just the stuff that we got released with, like, the Mihawk's really good, right? The Duval's really good. It's a 2-drop blocker that helps you stack. Lion Strike is a pretty good 2-drop event. Helps you rest 4 or less, either on your turn or your opponent's turn. The Sanji's really good with it. The Roronoa Zoro 4-drop's really good with it, which you can play off of the Dracula Mihawk. The Emporio Ivankov really helps in other decks as well. Like Ivankov himself works well with this card. This card also helps really well with this deck because it's a card you can return after you swing with it, right? When attacking, once per turn, draw 1 card if you have 6 or less. Then you swing with this leader with a Dawn on him, return him, or restand him because he'll be at 7 because you put 3 on him to bring him up to 7 in order to deal damage. I mean, it's 7,000 power or less, so you don't even have to put Dawn on him. You could just attack to gain the hand size. So it's really good for aggression. It's really good for aggression and just to have, like, multiple swings at once. It's really good in my opinion. However, when it comes to it, I would say he's better, but, like, Mono Blue Croc does kind of, like, pardon my French, but Mono Blue Croc kind of fucks. Like, Mono Blue Croc is really good, but when it comes to Roronoa Zoro and a Sanji, Vinsmoke, I feel like they're at least A tier, at least bottom of A tier in my opinion, because if you can get off the stuff they have, they can really wreak havoc. They can do a lot of things, in my opinion. They can do a lot of cool things. And the leader ability is really good too. You only need 1 Dawn on him to do it. So it's like, it's really good. Alright, so now that we're at the end of the video, finally, super long video, we have the 3 brothers, right? And I'm going to do like I did with Starter Deck 10 with Law, Luffy, and Kid. I'm going to rank them all at the same time. Of course, when it comes to Luffy, Luffy's the best one. He's pretty much S tier. In my opinion, I think Law's better. And then right next to Law is Sabo. Now, the reason why they're all pretty high tier is because they're all half yellow, right? So they get easy life manip, life gain, not to mention the cards they came with. Which, as much as I hate them, as much as I hate these leaders for how gimmicky and, like, free stuff they get, I have to look at the fact that they're like the cards they came with and the results they get. That's why they're also in the tiers they're in. Like, if you play these leaders, I'm sorry, I have yet to, like, go up against one of I have went up against the Sabo. I won against the Sabo. That's where I got my first winner card, actually, because I beat a Sabo. That was in the tournament. But if you play these leaders, I'm sorry, like, the stuff you get is pretty free. Like, you don't have to worry about anything. Like, these guys, the little versions of themselves, like, they're only 2 drop. They only cost 2, and then they get to bring out a very good mid-range body of them for pretty much free with a good ability. Yeah, you have to trash the card, but you also get to KO. You have to trash a card from your life, right? Top or bottom, KO a 5 or less. That's really good. I'm sorry. That's really good because your half yellow life manipulation is easy, especially if you're playing Ace, right? Or Sabo, because what Sabo does is you get to place a card on your board back to your life. So it's, and then Ace lets you place a card from your deck to your life. So it's like, not to mention when you do the little one's abilities, you get to give something. You get to give your leader, 2,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. That doesn't seem very balanced. I'm sorry. Turn 2, like if you go first, right? If you go first, you get to play one of these guys, get the ability off to get a mid-range body on board, which is Sabo, Ace, or Luffy. Give your leader 2k, swing for 8k, because you have that 1 extra Dawn because you went first, so you have 3 Dawn. So you get to swing for 8k on your opponent's turn. If you're Sabo, you get to place that card right at the top of your life. So say you play the Sabo to KO something on your opponent's board, you swing for 8k with Sabo because you need a Dawn to activate his ability. So you swing with 8k for like you activate his ability first to get something back on your life, which would be the Sabo, and then you get to swing for 8k. Like that's not fair. I'm sorry. It's not that it's not fair. It's not balanced. Why do you get a mid-range body that early on in the game? You get to have a 7k on your opponent's turn, and you get to swing for 8k, and you get it back in your life. So like, that's not balanced. I'm sorry, but like, mechanics aside, if you look at it normally with the stuff they came with, really good stuff. Really good stuff. The results they get, really good. The cards that work in the deck can kind of work in other decks as well, kind of. But really the only good thing about them is the versions of themselves, the little versions of themselves, and then the big version of themselves. That's like the best part about this deck. The cards themselves, pretty gimmicky and cringe. I'm sorry. They just are. Like, I was playing a little bit of Sabo in the sim. He just feels really gimmicky. Same with Luffy. I think Ace is the only one that doesn't feel a little gimmicky, even though he does the same mechanics as the other two. Like, you still kind of have to like think with Ace because it's from the top of your deck. It's not just, oh man, I have it on board, I get to swing with 8k, or oh man, I have it on board and I get to KO something. So, and it's in my trash, so like I get to gain life from my trash, which makes sense, right? It's black and yellow, but like, all you do is trash 1 card that's not balanced. You trash 1 card to gain 2 life, which is a possibility because it's 5. It's a cost 5 from your hand. So pretty much what you do is you trash one of the big bodies. You trash a Sabo, you trash an Ace, you trash a Luffy. So it's like, which would then just go straight into your life. So it's like, as unbalanced as these cards are, they are pretty good because of their abilities, the cards they came with. So Luffy's the best one. In my opinion, Ace is better than Sabo. But yeah, I don't want this video to go on any longer than it should be. Again, this tier list is just my opinion. And yeah, this is what I feel like the starter decks are ranked. If you really want to, yeah, Shanks is D tier. Shanks is horrible. He's like one of the worst starter deck leaders in the whole game. Yeah, that'll be it for this tier list. Thanks for watching. And hopefully you don't bash me on my opinions on the starter deck leaders.